So yeah, social media is destroying the minds of children, and Facebook know it. And this has been revealed to us from what has been called by the Wall Street Journal the Facebook files. Now, I'm no fan of the Wall Street Journal. This is not the first time, of course, they have gone after social media platforms. But they do have a point here, because someone internally to Facebook had leaked a bunch of their own internal research that showed that this is their platforms are having significant effects to young people, and this is what was found. So the Wall Street Journal just summarized this by saying, well, look, they know in acute detail that its platforms are riddled with flaws that cause harm, often in ways only the company fully understands. There's a central finding of this series based on a review of internal Facebook documents, which I have been through, including research reports, blah, blah, blah. Time and time again, Facebook's researchers have identified the platform's ill effects, and despite these congressional hearings and things like this on it, they've done nothing about it. So number one is that Facebook actually does have a two-tiered system on their platform. There are rules for thee, but not for me. They allow users to speak. They claim they allow users to speak on equal footing, but the elites of politics, culture, and journalism don't have these standards applying to them. They have a program known as Crosscheck, which is intended to be a quality control measure for high-profile accounts, and it shields millions of VIPs from the company's normal enforcement. So they actually have like an expressly two-tier system on Facebook.
I mean, to be honest, we have known about some of this for quite some time.
Yeah.
Thanks to people like Ryan Hartwig. I want to give credit to him.
But it's nice to have like the documents that show it.
But he leaked a bunch of them, and we had them on the website, which is just him showing that, here's what's written as like, oh, these are the guidelines you must follow, and then here's what we get, and it's so much in depth and so much more, this is okay, this isn't. I think one of the examples was like any Nazism stuff, of course, goes, but any communism stuff was like, maybe. It was like, if Stalin wants to deny the Holodomor, I don't know. But deny the Holocaust, you can't do that. Yeah. It's like, right, okay.
So anyway, number two, Facebook knows Instagram is toxic for many teen girls. This is something the company's found repeatedly, but we're going to look into in greater depth in a moment. Number three, Facebook tried to make its platform a healthier place, but instead it made everyone angrier. Wonderful. Good news. They were concerned about signs of declining user engagement, and so they were like, what we need to try and do is strengthen bonds between users and improve their well-being by fostering interactions between friends and family. Turns out everyone hates their friends and family, and that was the wrong thing to do. It made everyone angrier. Number four, Facebook employees flag drug cartels and human traffickers, but the company basically doesn't do anything about this, especially in non-Western countries. This is employees flag that human traffickers in the Middle East use the site to lure women into abusive employment situations. They warned that armed groups in Ethiopia use the site to incite violence against ethnic minorities. I don't doubt that it's not just Ethiopia as well. They send alerts to their bosses about organ selling, pornography, and government action against political dissent. And they also show the company's response, which is basically nothing. And number five, Facebook hobbled Mark Zuckerberg's bid to get America vaccinated. The problem they have here is that Facebook allowed people to say things that weren't pro-vaccination. And that was the Wall Street Journal's problem. But there we go. That's the Wall Street Journal. And number six, Facebook's effort to attract preteens goes beyond Instagram kids. So despite knowing that their platforms are damaging to a large number of children, they're like, so how can we get more children on our platform? As you can see here, why do we care about tweens? And one of them was like, well, they're a valuable but untapped audience. Children shouldn't be using social media. End of story.
I thought the limit was, right there, the age limit's 13.
Yes, it is, but that's still too young.
No, but I mean, legally, they're currently saying no one below the age of 13 should be on the platform.
But
and at the same time, we're going to hunt those under 13 to get on the platform.
Yes, because they're trying to develop new social media platforms that children should use.
Yeah.
But of course, the answer is no. Children should not be using them. And we know this because of Facebook's own research about young people. If we go into the actual document now, let's go and have a look, right? So if we go to page 24, John, they say, well, look, the page 24 points out that generally either teenagers on the whole either feel no different or slightly better, but about a quarter of teenage girls feel a lot worse from all of this. On page 27, teenagers, apparently, by the way, people feeling better, it's because of meme pages. People who are telling jokes on Instagram and Facebook are the things that are making those platforms bearable.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you, Archbishop of Banterbury. So, girls get following those meme pages if you want to feel better about yourselves. Page 27, teenagers unprompted across all groups would say that Instagram is the reason that there are higher levels of anxiety and depression in young people. So all of them associate Instagram with making their lives worse. The social comparison on unprecedented scale is the reason, with no way to escape it on the platform. As in, they're constantly, because they're teenagers, going, oh, look at that person, look at that person. I wonder if I'm being judged. I'm judging them. And so there's this constant social comparison that's going on, which, of course, this happens with all teenagers in all places and all times. But because Instagram gives you access to literally hundreds of millions of people, around probably billions now, around the world, well, there's no way to escape it. And both boys and girls gave this as the primary reason why Instagram is worse than other platforms for mental health, with the young people openly attributing their increase in anxiety and depression to Instagram. If we go on to page 28, teenagers with mental health issues, surprise, surprise, says Instagram that makes it worse. They suffer from pressure to conform, pressure to match money and attractiveness of influencers, need for validation from likes, and then you've got friendship conflicts with people angrily messaging each other and stuff like this, etc., etc. Not good. Page 29, those who are satisfied with what they have are the ones who don't have this problem, probably because that's like the top 20% of people when it comes to, fortune. And they're not bothered, but then they're the ones who are being compared to, I would imagine. Anyway, moving on, page 33, this creates a negative feedback loop. They say, comparison culture creates feelings of self-doubt. This heightens through social media use, brings on a low mood, and makes them more vulnerable to negative content that they see online. On page 34, they point out that this exacerbates the problems that they already have in their lives. These consumption patterns damage mental health. Young people know this, but don't change, presumably because of the addictive nature of social media, and so can get addicted to negativity. Constant self-critique and scrutiny permanently shapes the way a person views themselves in relation to others. Boys and girls compare themselves to different topics at similar rates. This leads them setting unrealistic and unattainable standards for themselves. Of course, this is most prevalent in body image. That's not good, is it? Teaching teenagers that they should be aspiring to completely unattainable standards and making them depressed if they don't, or when they don't.
What was the difference between men and boys? Sorry, boys and girls on this?
Women are more concerned about sort of the beauty things, and men are more concerned about trappings of status. So expensive clothes. I was going to say jewelry, not jewelry, like,
Big house.
Yeah,
car.
I was going to say watches, but I'm not even sure it's watches. Like, expensive phones, like stuff that they wear, the cool Nike shoes or whatever. Right. Whatever the kids are doing these days, says the boomer, right? But girls, obviously, it's, the Instagram models, particularly skin, apparently, is one of the things that, like skin tone and stuff like
blemishes
this. Exactly, because these Instagram models, and you can see the beauty bloggers being like, right, I'm literally going to put 5 pounds of makeup on my face and then smear it all around. And then suddenly I'll come out looking like a waxwork figure. And it's like, yeah, don't try and aspire to that. It's not going to happen. That's literally a piece of art done for one photograph for Instagram.
And if you move the camera like 5 degrees,
yeah, exactly,
the illusion is ruined.
Exactly. Another problem, of course, is that online bullying is particularly intense. So on page 39, they point out that this erodes trust in friend groups, making the children feel unsafe, isolated, and depressed. So basically no one knows who's going to backstab the other one because none of these relationships are done in real life. So you don't get to see the pain on the other person's face.
They're not authentic relationships.
They're not authentic, no. And this brings bullying into every part of their lives as well. Because normally, when I was a kid, if you were being bullied, you'd go home. So you'd at least be away from the bullies. But the bully is in your phone, in your hand, in your bedroom. So you can't really escape it. Yeah. But the problem is that these things are addictive. And if you're a 13-year-old, you can't exactly, you don't have the mental awareness to be able to be like, right, well, I realize this is addictive, so I'm going to put that down and go do something else. That's not how kids think.
Block them, but
yeah.
Maybe that was just me.
Sure, but then other people can still see what they're saying and, they'll tell you and things like this. It's not that easy, right? But basically they feel that they've got little they can do about it. Most of them feel that they have to cope with this alone as well. Most of them feel that they have nowhere to go when they're struggling. And one of the reasons is because their parents weren't raised on social media. So they don't really understand it. They don't know what it's like to be a 13-year-old who's being bullied by their classmates or whatever, or constantly comparing themselves to Instagram models or, some guy who's bought a Ferrari or whatever it is, because they didn't grow up with this. And so, like I didn't grow up with social media. Thank God. I tell you what, if you grew up with social media, I'm so sorry. But your life has been ruined in advance. But yeah, so they feel really, really isolated, which is also very sad. Why do you look so callous about this?
Oh, because I grew up with it, and for me, it was always a joke, like the whole thing.
Good for you.
I don't know if that's just me, but like
it seems that way.
Yeah.
But this, I think, is the worst aspect. Is on page 53. 1/3 of teens want help controlling the time that they use Instagram for. They recognize that the time spent is one of the worst aspects of their relationship to the app itself, and this is very interesting that Instagram or Facebook have this. This is what they say, right? They have an addict's narrative about the app. It makes them feel good and bad, and they wish they could spend less time caring about it, but can't help themselves. This is genuinely a drug to teenagers. So you might have been lucky and you were like, well, I just don't enjoy this drug. This drug is silly and I can just put it down anytime I want. But there are lots of people who can't.
I know, I still get the aspect of it being a bit of a drug. I mean, like getting notifications about stuff, right?
And likes and reinforcements and all this.
Does this person follow me of interest or that kind of thing? But I don't get the bullying aspect. Like, it's just something that doesn't...
Lucky for you.
Seem to care about, but that's,
literally Callum just contemptuously looking at his peers as if I care about your opinion.
Yeah.
Walks off, doesn't explain himself.
I'm dating you? No, then who cares?
Lucky for you, but most people aren't like that. Anyway, so moving on, the teenage girls body comparison study. We'll just go for the summary on page 2. It's easy enough. The body comparisons are formed by body standards, flawless skin, and fashion. Other comparisons were influencer, money for nothing lifestyles, relationships, travel, experience, and talents. And I should have got this up for this, but there was surveys done in the West. What do kids want to be? YouTubers, Instagram bloggers, lifestyle bloggers. What do kids in China want to do? They want to go to the moon. Right? They want to achieve something with their lives. Western teenagers want to be vapid narcissists.
I am a little bit suspicious of those surveys in China for natural reasons.
Sure.
About who's doing those surveys and what.
But I mean, there's also, they can't access YouTube and Twitter and Instagram.
Well, no, because you remember we did a story a while back in which the CCP was cracking down on, what do they call it, like stars or whatever that they weren't happy with, especially the male ones for being too feminine. They're just like, these are not proper men, we're not promoting them. So, I mean, the engineering does go on there.
Sure. But also, I mean, if you can't watch your favorite YouTube stars on YouTube, you're probably not thinking, I'm going to be a YouTuber.
Sure.
So anyway, social comparison journeys apparently mimicked the grief cycle. So pre-existing moods are a precursor to a downward emotional spiral from jealousy to dysmorphia. Confidence building and inspiration are rooted in the combination of reality, accessibility, and attainable aspiration. And of course, none of these things are present on social media. You can't build confidence on social media. It's not real. It's not, the goals you're trying to get to are not accessible and they're not attainable aspirations. Social comparison is apparently worst on Instagram. Exploring and profile stalking enables never-ending rabbit holes. But apparently, friends' content is more impactful than celebrity content. So you're more likely to be profile stalking someone you know rather than some celebrity, which I don't know whether that's good or bad, I suppose. But anyway, and other apps they notice are shielded by what they call fun filters. Then TikTok is grounded in dance and doing stupid things for jokes. Snapchat keeps the focus on the face and stuff like this, right? And so it's less intense than Instagram. And despite all of this, Facebook and Instagram still have strategies in order to get children onto their platforms. But so this is terrible for kids. It's making an entire generation catatonic.
Specifically Facebook and Instagram.
How do we get more of them? Seems awful, doesn't it? Right?
Do you make it more awful for them?
Well, I mean, one of the things is that they can become addicted to the awfulness of it as well.
That's a selling point.
Hate yourself? Want to hate yourself more? Join Instagram. That's not even joking, right? So on page 7, they point out that teen acquisition is low and going down on Facebook, as in kids are like, that's a boomer platform, I'm not using that. Young adults are saturated on Facebook and their engagement's flat though, and they're working on strategies just to basically keep you on Facebook forever. On page 8, they point out that Instagram is generally saturated and growing in all markets, so Instagram is more addictive than Facebook. So expect the Instagramization of Facebook as they try and compensate in the near future. And on page 12, I point out that Instagram is the preferred platform for young teens, joining in developing markets and retaining. That's good corporate speak for, yes, we're going to corrupt the youth of the world, not just the West, in this way. So looking forward to those, Eritrean children who get on Instagram and then go mental. Nothing bad will come of that.
This may impact why I'm a bit callous about it, because I never really got on Instagram either. I only recently got on just to try and find people.
I have to say, I actually kind of like Instagram because of the sort of unsocial nature of it. Like, I don't get to hear
don't
from
really
people
get
I
it.
don't like.
It's just mostly just pictures and videos, and that's it. Like, you just scroll through, and that's it.
Yeah, I basically just post memes and political memes.
There's no commentary. There's no expounding of ideas.
No, but it's also not like Twitter where you're like talking to one another. You know, there's very little sort of cross-platform interaction in my experience, and so I don't get to hear from like insufferable leftist liars all day. So it's actually a kind of tranquil space for me because I consciously curate my feeds to not give me crap I hate, and then I just put up my Weimer models. That's great. Anyway, so Facebook is of course downplaying this because this all looks really bad, really bad, and so. Facebook have been open to, there have been calls by lawmakers and regulators for more regulation of the social media network, but who knows what that really means. Facebook said that it had paused development of the Instagram Kids service, which would have been tailored for children of 13 or younger. No. It should probably be a law. I mean it.
I'm pretty sure isn't there some like advice in the UK? I don't think it's law. But the threshold is meant to be 13.
I think that's
it's
not too young.
It's not even Facebook that has just that. It was just like make sure you're 13. A lot of companies.
But I honestly, I think at this point, prudence is the wiser decision, and just be like, look, just don't. Just make your kids go outside and play the football. That's the best thing. Anyway, so they had a Senate hearing yesterday. I haven't seen it though. But in the opening remarks, Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee argued that Facebook, despite knowing the mental health risks, was scheming to bring even younger users into the fold. Facebook knows that services are actively harming their users, but they don't seem to care. Aspects of Instagram exacerbate each other to create a perfect storm. Now, this is all true. And it's interesting how these sorts of, I guess we'll call them the political class, have started realizing, hang on, Facebook's actually a terrifyingly dangerous entity. Can this be allowed to exist? Because The Atlantic published an article called Facebook is a Foreign Power, the largest autocracy on Earth, arguing that basically Facebook should be treated like a foreign country that's like colonizing the rest of the world.
What kind of de facto is?
Well, that's the point. That's exactly the point. In many ways, it actually is.
Whereas also treated like that by senators and whatnot. The way they
Yes.
interact with Mark is not how you'd interact with just some guy who owns a company.
It's like they're talking to Vladimir Putin. Isn't it? It's really weird. And the way he responds is very controlled. But anyway, so 2.9 billion people use Facebook monthly, and to Zuckerberg, Facebook's founder and CEO, they are citizens of Facebook land. Long ago, he conspicuously started calling them people instead of users. I guess at least he's not calling them citizens.
My fellow lizards.
But yeah, so it's mad that Facebook's GDP is 54 billion in the first half of 2021 alone. That is staggering.
It's impressive.
That's more than most of the countries on the earth. It's probably more than all of Eastern Europe combined. Like, it's such a huge amount of money. So they say here that GDP makes for a telling comparison, not because it gestures at Facebook's extraordinary power, but because it helps us see Facebook for what it really is. Facebook is not merely a website, a platform, or a publisher, or a social network, or an online directory, or a corporation, or a utility. It's all these things, but also it's effectively a hostile foreign power. And they've got a quote from Hillary Clinton here, where she apparently told the author of this last year that she'd always caught a whiff of authoritarianism from Zuckerberg. It's like, really, Hillary? That's ironic.
Oh God, who's talking?
Yeah. I feel like you're negotiating with a foreign power sometimes. He's immensely powerful. I think she's not wrong, though. He is immensely powerful. One autocrat looks at the other and it's just like, see you. Mark Zuckerberg's like, I'll crush you.
At least he's more pro-free speech than she is.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Yeah. For her to say I caught a whiff, it's like, well, actually,
just a whiff of it, unlike my full blown.
Yeah, exactly. Unlike my general stench of it. But anyway, so the question is, well, what can we even do, right? Socially responsible companies could boycott Facebook, but that's never worked because it's an amazing marketplace to have access to. Maybe rank and file Facebook employees could lobby for reform or have a mass walkout, but they need their jobs, and Facebook probably pays very well given the amount of money that it has.
SJWs have tried that as well.
Yeah, it's not worked. There's currently a conservative union inside Facebook that's struggling not to resist against social justice. But the answer is, of course, Facebook users are the group with the most power to demand change. Could enough people come together to bring down the empire? Well, no. There's no way that 2.9 billion people could coordinate. They don't even speak the same languages. Like, even if Facebook lost 1 billion users, it's still by far the biggest social media platform.
I think it's only technically beaten by YouTube.
But YouTube's not like a social media platform.
Yeah, they're trying to move into that space,
Yeah,
but it's not.
It's like a TV station.
Yes.
It's like that's what YouTube is. But of the sort of like active, social media platforms that use it, Facebook is just by far the biggest, and even if it lost 1 billion users, would still be by far the biggest. And so the author just has to be like, well, we need to recognize the danger we're in. We need to shake the notion that Facebook is a normal company or that its hegemony is inevitable. But the thing is, what can stop it? What can be done? Anyway, the question is answered by based Florida man, Ron DeSantis. He's trying to take legal actions against Facebook, having an investigation for alleged interference at the behest of DeSantis. But this isn't going to go anywhere, frankly. The companies get the free speech protections in the US like everyone else does, and they can just bat all of these away. It's not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. Legally speaking, yeah. And so basically, you're going to have to go the Russian option. Ban it. Which is not what I'm saying I'm for, but it's...
That also doesn't solve the problem.
It doesn't solve the problem, no.
Because then you have VK.
Yes. But I mean, at least that's smaller, I guess. I mean, it's terrible arguments. And like I said, I'm not for banning anything, really, but like, sometimes you've got to accept that, hang on, maybe this shouldn't be just in the hands of one guy. I mean, if Mark Zuckerberg got it into his head to just do something mental, well, he could do something mental, and there's literally nothing you can do about it.
Sorry, I'm still sick.
No, that's all right. You can engineer the thoughts of 1 billion people, or 3 billion people. That's a bit too much for one man to have, really. Especially when he's like, so now we need to get the kids on here too.
So you're saying Kanye West was right all along?
What did he say?
No one man should have all that power.
Well, he's not wrong. And the thing is, the problem with it is not necessarily having that much power. The problem is the lack of accountability that goes along with it. But anyway, Russian authorities basically, if they don't delete content that Moscow deems illegal, they're going to start fining up to 10% of its annual turnover, which is quite a lot. Because they complain that Facebook's failed to remove child pornography, drug abuse, and extremist content. Facebook haven't commented on this, but this is not the option that I want to see either. But then, I mean, what are the options? I don't know what our alternatives are. So there we go.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can catch the full podcast at 1 p.m. every weekday UK time at lotuseaters.com. You can also sign up at lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, that's how we keep this whole operation running. And recently we've put up loads of great stuff, such as this interview with legendary comedian Steve Hughes, one of my personal favourite comedians, so it was a real honour to be able to meet him. But one thing that I didn't expect, that he would be such a deep thinker, and this podcast is genuinely like a meeting of minds in a way. He was right on my wavelength on a bunch of things and helped me actually connect a bunch of dots, but I'm not going to carry on and spoil it. We also, of course, have lots of interesting articles that have been written, such as this one by Josh about the dumbest country on earth. And for premium, for silver tier subscribers, we also include a link, so it's we have an audio reading of it from a chap called Jonathan, who has a very smooth voice that you will enjoy. And this is great because often I don't have time to read all of the articles we put up, because we've put up a lot of regular content. And so this saves me the hassle of having to read it myself. So I really actually am very appreciative of this feature on a personal level. But we also do the Contemplations and Epochs, which are just interesting podcasts about interesting things. These are regular weekly podcasts. So this one is one of our writers, Josh, he's got a master's degree in psychology, talking about theories of intelligence and how they matter. And of course, we've got the Epochs, where myself and Bo, or in this case it was Josh and Bo, talking about the life of Sir Francis Drake. So that's 2 solid hours talking about England's most notorious adventurer. But we've also got lots and lots of other ones. This is number 21, so there's a good back catalogue there. And finally, we have our book clubs, and this is the part that I'm most proud of. Recently, we've done Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell, and
Reflections on a Ravaged Century by Robert Conquest.
Yeah, Robert Conquest is fantastic. Just if you want Western chauvinist historian, he's your man.
Anti-socialism.
Yes, in all forms, it's fantastic. And like I said, that's what keeps the podcast running. So if you want to become a member, thank you very much, and we think there's some great stuff you'll enjoy.